All right, welcome to the next week of cannabis management. Everything should be up on Moodle so that you can see what the plan is for this week. But being that it's week 3 and we're halfway through this class already, um, then there is a midterm this week. So you'll see that on there. It'll be open Monday through probably like the Sunday to Monday of next week, just so you can take it whenever you've got the time. And I do have, sorry, the review posted under week 2 if you didn't already see that. Yeah, I happened to mention in a lecture last week that there'll be a few questions from this particular lecture on the midterm. It's just about the products in the industry. Really just, knowing what kind of products can be produced and what's out there on the market type thing. So yeah, with that, I am timing myself so that I don't go over an hour in each video, just to give some breaks. So we'll see if I get through this whole lecture or if I end up having to divide it into 2. So with that, talking about products in the cannabis industry, which includes hemp. So we're going to talk about all the different hemp products and also marijuana. I kind of just put that together, not necessarily separating out like medicinal marijuana from recreational marijuana. But we are first going to talk about a few FDA rules because those are important. It does impact what kind of products we can have on the market. And then take a look at the few FDA currently approved drugs. And then, like I said, list some of the common products of hemp and marijuana, regulations, and then the few prohibited ones that are out there. So starting with the FDA, or Food and Drug Administration, they are, we talked about them a little bit as far as like, that we were able to get that extract law passed that allowed the term dietary supplement to go on some of the products like tinctures and things like that. So that the Food and Drug Administration doesn't necessarily have to like run research on it to like make sure it's, because a dietary supplement isn't necessarily stating that you can take this to like, lower cholesterol or something like that. I mean, if you had a statement like that, then the FDA would have to approve it and prove that that thing truly helps with that. So we're not necessarily, trying to get to that point, although it would be nice later on, especially just for people with diagnosable problems like anxiety, that CBD could be an option for them to take. And if it's approved by the FDA, then typically insurance companies have to cover it and all of that. So just, hopefully things like that do come along. But anyways, I have information up here about 2019 and 2022. And mainly that's just because in 2019, when CBD hemp, especially for our state, that was the only thing that was legal, not recreational marijuana. So 2019, CBD was very popular, and it was still kind of like iffy on if you could call it a dietary supplement or a supplement, but a lot of companies were getting kind of excited about what they could possibly infuse, the CBD with. So like Ben and Jerry's, really were kind of pushing to say like they wanted to come out with an ice cream with CBD in it, Coca-Cola having, drinks with CBD in it. It was definitely a big interest of a lot of companies. And federal regulation has definitely struggled to keep up. with just the number of CBD containing products that are out there on the shelf. And really, even over the years from 2019, what you can find out there, or just the number of products available, has been increasing. So federal regulation has struggled to keep up, especially because there's been an absence of action and enforcement. So states and localities have rapidly filled the void. However, the Food and Drug Administration does regulate cannabis and cannabis-derived compounds, according to the Federal Food, Drug, and Cosmetic Act. And it looks at it as it would any compound present in any otherwise FDA regulated product. So, 2019 really wasn't that long ago. We're talking 2-3 years. FDA was very, very cautious and restrictive as far as what kind of regulations they would provide on CBD. They still are prohibiting adding CBD to food and drink. So you will see that there's a bullet point under 2019 that at the federal level, CBD in food and drink is still illegal. But then again, states could make their own laws. There are some products that, again, still kind of squeak through this. I think I have a slide with some examples on it. So, the FDA would much prefer that like CBD infused food and drinks were not on the shelf. And it's just because of the limited amount of research that they have as far as what the product really does to people, what kind of interactions it might have with other medications we're taking. So it makes sense, but also on a personal level, I think it's really cool to see a lot of the CBD infused food and drinks out there. So, I understand where they're coming from, but I also want to be a consumer of that. So it does seem like in, this year and moving forward that the FDA is definitely do the research, bring it to us, and we'll then start changing regulations as the research shows we can. To date, I kind of already said that the FDA has taken a cautious and restrictive approach to the regulation of CBD. There's very few drugs, and this is actually like medication drugs that have been approved by the FDA that have cannabinoids from the plant in them. There's only one drug that contains CBD that's been approved by the FDA. We'll talk about that. And then there's been a few that have a synthetic form of THC. And also the FDA has labeled hemp seed derived substances as generally recognized as safe, or GRAS, grass, I don't know, for direct addition to food. So I've got slides on all of that stuff, so you'll get to see it. So this is taking a look at the drugs. And this first one is the only one that they have approved for use, and it contains CBD in it. So I pronounce it Epidiolex. I might have heard somebody say it a little bit differently, but now I can't remember how. But this is a oral solution for the treatment of seizures associated with a number of different syndromes that typically cause seizures. So two rare and severe forms of epilepsy, the Lennox-Gastaut syndrome and Dravet syndrome, those two are the ones associated with seizures that CBD helps control and reduce. There's also the tuberous sclerosis complex that also causes seizures. So the other interesting thing though is that patients that are 1 year old, so very young and older, that have that tuberous sclerosis complex, it's approved for use in those ages. And then if they've got those other two rare forms of epilepsy, then it's approved for patients 2 years of age and older. So at a very young age, this has been approved for them, which again, in my personal opinion, is just a positive, because it's CBD, it's not going to get them high, and it's going to help control and limit the number of seizures they have and the severity of the seizures. So this is the only FDA approved drug that contains a purified substance derived from cannabis, and that is CBD. Or I do have a slide that kind of describes this a little bit further, because I use the abbreviations a lot. So I will show you, and it says it on this slide too, what that abbreviation stands for. Let me get my pen going. I'll use the color orange. So if you can see on the actual image of the medication in the bottom right, under Epidiolex, there's the term cannabidiol, cannabidiol, however you want to say that. I just kind of say it real fast, cannabidiol. That is CBD, right? CBD. So it's taking actual CBD from the cannabis plant into this medication. So that is the only one approved by the FDA that has CBD in it. There are a few other drugs approved by FDA that use a chemical that structures very, very similar to THC. So you'll see on the first one on the left side, these are actually like approved a long time ago, 1985. That's when the FDA approved them. You have Marinol and Syndrose. I put them together because they have the same active ingredient, that dronabinol, but just two different names, trademark names, and I couldn't find a picture of Syndrose, or yeah, no, there is a picture of Syndrose down there. Syndrose and Marinol. So it is a regulated pharmaceutical drug then, because it's been approved by the FDA. So you do need a prescription to purchase and use either one of or any of these on the slide here. We're talking about Marinol and Syndrose first. It has, again, the active ingredient dronabinol, which is a synthetic form of THC, or tetrahydrocannabinol. And you should know by now that THC is the main psychoactive ingredient in marijuana. So it doesn't work quite the same way as THC inside of our bodies, because the compound structure of it is slightly different. I think in high enough doses, you could probably get a high from it as well. But the point of this medication, and you'll see really for both Marinol and Syndrose and Cesamet, that it's meant to increase those kind of side effects of THC, where it increases appetite, decreases nausea and vomiting. So this first one, if you happen to know your, what do I want to say, drug history or medicine history, I don't know. But the first one, Marinol, coming out in 1985, it was because of the huge hit of AIDS increasing in our populations of people. So with AIDS, there were a lot of side effects, including loss of appetite, people losing a lot of weight, and then having some pretty severe nausea and vomiting. So it was actually approved, kind of first for the people that were diagnosed with AIDS. Um, Sesamet is very, very similar, but it actually came about a little bit later, 2006. Again, a different structure to it. It's also a synthetic form of THC, but this structure is called nabilone. And again, just having it be a slightly different compound structure to THC. It still would probably cause a high in people, but not at the rate that they are providing. Again, the biggest, what they're really trying to cause with this medication is for the treatment of nausea and vomiting. And Sesamet is pretty much prescribed to people that are going through cancer or chemotherapy. And again, a side effect of chemotherapy for a lot of patients are nausea and vomiting. And so Sesamet is supposed to reduce that. I think those were the two big things, nausea and vomiting. I'm not sure if it has too much of an impact on appetite, but for some patients, chemotherapy can do that as well, cause them to lose their appetite and then have a very dramatic weight loss. So, it's possible that it could help with that as well. As time has gone on, Marinol and Syndros actually have been prescribed to patients to treat anorexia. So again, weight loss. Yeah, I guess the big thing is just to say with this is that they are both synthetic forms. So they are not the actual form of THC, which just makes them react a little bit differently in our bodies. They're going to be at such low amounts, 2.5 milligrams, and both of these are a liquid that you drop in your mouth. Sesamet is a capsule, 1 milligram, right? It's at such a small dosage that you're not going to get high off of it. And again, they're just looking for those main effects of it to help treat loss of appetite, severe nausea, and vomiting that come from some pretty bad problems, AIDS, cancer, that sort of thing, anorexia. I also mentioned that the FDA has recognized 3 hemp seed derivatives as generally recognized as safe, or GRAS. So this was back in 2018, so it wasn't really too long ago that the FDA completed its evaluation and determined that hulled hemp seed, thought I put bullet points on this, but I guess I didn't. But I have the pictures up here. So hulled hemp seed protein powder, and hemp seed oil are the 3 hemp seed derivatives that are generally recognized as safe by the FDA. So that means these products can be legally marketed for human foods for uses described on the packages, provided they comply with all other requirements. But FDA has not approved the use of any of these in animal food. We'll talk about that too. And again, these are hemp seed. They've got hemp in the name, so that means they have that less than 0.3% THC. So they're not going to get you high. And mostly the importance of these are that the hemp seeds are a great source of protein, carbohydrates, oil, the healthy fats like omega-3s, omega-6s, and can be typically not eaten like by themselves as a meal, but with other things. So like mixed in with your oatmeal or your cereal, orange juice, smoothies, protein drinks, that sort of thing, soups, salads, dressing, desserts, baked goods. So this is not considered to be CBD infused food, right? Because this also has very, 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 very low amounts of CBD in it. So again, mostly for the actual ingredients like vitamins, proteins, fatty acids, that sort of thing. I do have hemp seeds. So usually I have a package with me here at my desk. But I might have left it somewhere. So they're easy enough to find. The picture I actually put up is Trader Joe's. You can find them online on Amazon because they've been approved by the FDA. Then they can be sold anywhere. Hemp seed oil, I don't necessarily use that too much, but again, it could be used to cook with, add it for different reasons to dressings, maybe your baked goods. I've never used the protein powder, but again, it makes sense to me because hemp seeds are extremely high in protein. So this kind of sums it all up, what we've already talked about, that there's only one drug that's been approved by the FDA that like literally has a cannabis derived product, CBD, from it. So they literally have to collect it from cannabis plants being grown. The other ones being synthetically made means that they can just make them in a lab. They don't need the plants. And so 3 synthetic cannabis related drug products. They're only available with a prescription from a licensed healthcare provider. But it doesn't end there. There's still research going. The FDA is still very concerned and interested in how long-term use of CBD affects you. Again, how it impacts the other medicines you might be taking that you were prescribed. So, research takes time. Running through these tests that first of all, they do start on lab rats and that sort of thing before moving to human trials and all of that. It is going to take a while for any sort of research that's been done on CBD to prove any certain claims, helps with depression, anxiety, anything like that. The FDA also warns that CBD maybe has side effects that could just cause other problems like drowsiness, so then maybe you shouldn't operate vehicles after you take it, things like that. Personally, I've never experienced any of those bad side effects, but I also don't take it on a long-term basis. I take it when maybe I have a sore back, or other pain problems, anxiety, things like that. So that's FDA approval. We're now going to kind of separate them out by what type of plant produced it. So we're going to talk about CBD hemp products first. And then there's going to be the marijuana products, grain hemp products, and fiber hemp products. I just start with CBD probably because those are products that I do use from time to time. They have been legal in the state. Again, depending on what we're talking about, I'll tell you what's not legal. And it is, looking for adding CBD to the product that is a cannabinoid from the hemp plant, but it does not get you high. It does not have the impact like THC does. So it's a non-intoxicating relactant, relieves pain, extracted from the flower buds of the female plants. We don't want any males. Seeds really don't have any CBD in them. So like I said, I don't get too much into the chemicals inside of the plant because I talk about that a lot in the cultivation class. But CBD is just the abbreviation for cannabis oil. And if you can kind of tell where that came from, the C, the B, and the D from the name, there are like hundreds of cannabinoids. So cannabinoids are just the term for the chemical structures that make up like CBD, THC, all of these here. I'm not sure that they all really have the same number of like carbons or anything like that, so I can't say it's like a 20 carbon structure, but that's just the term given to them. So cannabinoids are just like flavonoids and terpenes. They are this naturally occurring carbon structure that each one is different as far as like how many rings it has, where those rings are located, that sort of thing. So THC, I call it THC because that's super easy to say, really nice to say. But again, typically that stands for delta-9 tetrahydrocannabinol, right? THC, makes sense. There's CBG, cannabidiol, cannabinol, CBN, CBC, cannabichromene. So not that I'm ever gonna like test you on these names. I just wanted you to see them. There are so many cannabinoids out there. We don't even know what some of the possibilities are for some of them. There's a little bit more medicinal research into CBG now, but it's still a pretty blank slate because we haven't been able to research this plant because it's been illegal for so long. So there could be a number of great reasons to focus on some of these other cannabinoids inside the plant. But CBD is super prevalent, just higher amounts of it inside of the plant. So that kind of brought it to the forefront of what we should look at, what we should use from the hemp plant. So CBD has a number of uses. Again, none of these have been like necessarily approved by the FDA or proven in their minds, but it's just gathering up reports from other countries where it has been legal, the history of the plant, when they used it in ancient China and things like that, that I feel all right with saying that these are a pretty good summary of the uses and benefits of CBD. So using pain, anti-seizure, that one has been proven, reduce anxiety and depression, alleviate cancer-related symptoms, neuroprotective properties, heart health, antipsychotic effects, substance abuse treatment, which that's a really interesting one that they've been looking into more. I think there could be some great benefits from that, reducing even the want of people to use like heroin or some of those other, in my opinion, very bad drugs. Also anti-tumor effects. So in my opinion, nothing but positive benefits of CBD, and I would love to see more of this approved by the FDA. But anyways, just to give you a list of the products that are out there, and this might not be everything you've ever come across, but more, I guess, the more common products that are out there and that can be legally sold. So we have CBD capsules. I actually don't see these too often, but you could find them out there. And it is literally just like the crude oil from the plant put into these capsules. Makes sense? I typically see the liquid a little bit more out there. And there are different types of liquid. So this first one I'm calling CBD oils. And I actually have some here that I made in this jar. So what that means is that the CBD was extracted from a plant using an oil. My example here was olive oil, so you can see why it kind of has that lighter color to it. Olive oil is lighter. Unfortunately, I did use like a robust olive oil, and so it really smells interesting. But anyways, so you had an oil-based product that extracted the CBD from a plant, and again, it has been verified to be less than 0.3% THC, and manufacturers typically dilute the extract in a carrier oil. Common carrier oils include medium chain triglyceride, or MTC, which I think is what this one was. Yep, this one was using MTC oil. There's also hemp seed oil that's used as a carrier, coconut oil, olive oil, even grape. There's a grape seed oil. To look back. Anyways, there's a number of oils you can use. A lot of the times, they are typically darker in color, like this picture shows. I don't necessarily see on the picture what was used to extract it, but that's kind of how I tell the difference some of the times looking at the product. If it's dark in color like that, I can pretty much assume that it's an oil base. But, you know, my tinctures here that use the MTC oil to extract it, you know, it is pretty clear. If you remember talking about what has to be on the label, you know, like the milligrams of CBD, there should be the amount of CBD per serving, what the serving is, half a dropper, the whole dropper, that sort of thing. And the costs really range. You know, you're looking at maybe half a cent per milligram. So something that contained 2,400 milligrams of CBD, you know, would cost $120. So it doesn't seem that expensive when you see like the cost per milligram, but there are things, I have seen things that were $120 and more just because of how much milligrams were in the entire bottle. So CBD tinctures and liquids, I don't know. Honestly, a lot of people probably call them all tinctures. You know, even my stuff here that was extracted with oil says tincture on the front. So not necessarily in the industry are they separated, but I'll just say that there are other tinctures that are similar to the CBD oils, but the CBD was extracted using alcohol and water. So the CBD hemp extract and the food grade alcohol solution are typically mixed together with other additives, such as sweeteners, flavorings, or vegetable glycerin to mask the strong taste. Also, most of the alcohol is evaporated off. So you're left with, again, typically a solution that does look a lot like this. Kind of even more of a crude oil type thing. And then as you process it and manufacture it further, you refine it and get to this final kind of tincture thing. Some people might also add different like botanicals, herbs, supplements, or other natural substances. Just kind of, I guess, depends upon the manufacturer. I have seen ones that they've added like a mint flavor, again, to kind of mask the strong taste of the hemp. There's like been chocolate mint ones. That one was disgusting though. I don't really mind just the straight mint ones. I feel like there was one that was watermelon ones. That was disgusting as well. So it does take a little bit of time to kind of figure out which flavor you like. But anyways, so whether you call it CBD oil or tincture or liquids, I mean, they're pretty much the same thing. And you take them by dropping them under your tongue. I did find this article that kind of separated them out. CBD in an oil base versus an alcohol base, just because of the extraction method and then the processes that happen afterwards, it does change the flavor some. So a lot of the times the tinctures have a little bit more of a bitter taste, unless you use robust olive oil. But anyways, there has been some evidence of like how fast it absorbs, how long it takes to start to impact like the pain relief or whatever reason you're taking it for. Different shelf life, which typically most of these do come with an expiration date on them. That's on the label too. So not that this has been particularly proven in research, but I did find some of it interesting as far as a comparison goes. There's this other article that is a few years old. This was the best CBD on the market for 2020. So things could have changed from then, but you can just see some of the differences between them. Not that you can read all of these tiny bottles, but like number one, it's got 5,000 milligrams. So that's probably a pretty expensive one. Can't really read the second one. $725 maybe. It's a little bit tiny. This one was done in olive oil. I have a really peculiar taste to it. I don't see a total milligrams. Don't see one on that one either. The last one is 500. But just to talk about some of these brands, Vita hemp oil, the first one, it comes as either a THC-free one or a full spectrum, which means that it has that THC in it, but it's less than the 0.3%. So it combines the powerful benefits of this cannabinoid with superfood MTC coconut oil. So typically gives fast results to the consumer, pretty effective in alleviating pain and symptoms of anxiety and depression. There should be a way to look up, how it was manufactured and also how it was grown. I believe this company uses a supercritical CO2 method to extract the hemp oil from the plant. The second one, New Leaf Naturals, is a Colorado-based company, doing pretty good in the market. It's also derived using the carbon dioxide method. Doses range from 240 to 4,850 milligrams, 100% organic, third-party certification, pretty expensive. Charlotte's Web, considered as one of the best oils on the market. Has full spectrum CBD oil, so that means it has a little bit of the THC, less than 0.3%. Typically sold to alleviate body pain. They've been on the market for a really long time now because they also do marijuana stuff as well. This is one of their hemp things. Plus CBD, hemp oil. really not a ton different. It's mostly just the high reviews given to it, the fact that it can be pretty fast acting for pain relief and anxiety and depression. Comes in peppermint and goji berry flavors. And then the last one is Medterra. These products typically have 0 THC, so they're THC free, and different potencies, so anywhere from 500 to 3,000 milligrams. It's not that I'm saying you have to buy any one of these. It's just cool to see what's out there on the market. So CBD gummies. Now, this is where you might be like, technically, this is a CBD infused food, right? So wouldn't the FDA hate this and try to get rid of it? I don't really think that they've done too much to try to get edibles off of the shelves. I think they're a little bit more worried about like if Coca-Cola started to have a CBD infused line or something like that. But I will tell you what they do look at for the gummies. I might actually have that under the marijuana part of it, but there are some rules for the packaging and labeling. It can't be anything that would attract kids, anyone under the age of 21. So I'm not sure if they necessarily like the bear shaped, but you do find these out there. So they're going to range in how many milligrams of CBD. And again, the more milligrams, the more expensive they're going to be. And like the bag says, typically used for pain relief, calming the anxiety, and relaxing. Smokable flower is another product. This is going to vary state by state, which is why I have the star next to it there, because states have made their own laws on this. For a while, it looked like New York was actually going to make a law that smokable CBD flower was going to be illegal, but fortunately that did not happen. So we can still sell them here in New York, but there are some limitations. You can't actually market them for the purpose of smoking, even though like we all know this what's going to happen when they take the flower home after buying it. You just sell them in a jar like this or in a package. They cannot be in the form of a pre-rolled cigar or joint. So not like that, but other states might be okay. So again, it's going to vary pretty widely based on state. But it is legal in New York. They just can't be marketed. So you can't have like a big sign behind it that says, like when you smoke it, this happens and you get these flavors. You have to pretty much pretend that we don't know that's going to happen. The other pretty common ones really across all states are like things like lotions, balms, that sort of thing. They are also going to vary by the milligram in the lotion or whatever kind of cream it is. The higher milligrams you get, the more expensive it's going to be. But I've had a lot of what's really been hit or miss with this. When I actually walk into CBD stores, like in Colorado, and they sell me their product, I've gotten some really, really great lotion that does help with like arthritis or some sort of muscle ache. You buy things online or you buy them at the Walmart's aisle of like as seen on TV, probably a much lower quality, and I don't really suggest people buy that stuff. So buying it online makes it a little bit more harder to make sure you're getting a decent product, but it's just another way the CBD is used. Right. Also, CBD is used in pet medications. Now, the FDA is probably kind of like that's a little bit outside of my reach because they really only focus on things that, humans intake. Maybe a little bit to do with like cows and chickens and the animals that get harvested for, again, humans to eat. But when it comes to our pets, like dogs, cats, I'm not sure that they have a whole lot of say about it. Although there is like a U.S. Veterinary Association and things like that. Um, they are like iffy on CBD products being given to your dogs. There have been some vets that like have gotten the okay to prescribe CBD for certain problems with dogs. For the most part, it doesn't really seem to be too regulated, so it's a little bit difficult to talk about, but they have seen a number of helpful reasons to give it to your dog. Maybe the dosing and that sort of thing needs to get defined a little bit further. But whether they're in treats or tinctures, just like what we take, they're going to be using them in similar manners to reduce pain, reduce anxiety and stress. It will also help control seizures in dogs, has anti-inflammatory properties, cardiac benefits, anti-nausea, appetite stimulant, arthritis and joint pain, all of that. So again, as a personal comment, and that I'm not suggesting anybody do exactly what I'm saying, but I did go to a vet that was a proponent of CBD, and based on my dog's weight and the problems he was having, which is mostly arthritis, she did then sell me a bottle, tell me how much to give him based on his weight, and I felt pretty comfortable in doing that. And I really only give it to him when his arthritis flares up. Dr. Elram here uses, I can't remember if he just had treats that had CBD in them or if he used the tincture, but he's given it to his dog that had seizures, and his dog has now been like seizure free for a few years. So again, that's just a huge benefit and relief to pet owners as a natural way to control it. But I'm not saying go out and buy a t-shirt and start giving it to your dog. You should be aware of how much to give them based on their weight and the number of milligrams of CBD. So, all right, talking back about the infused food and drink. So, as I said, it's still, FDA still says on their website that is illegal at the federal level. I think some states have made their own ruling. I couldn't find anything that said New York has their own laws saying that it's okay. But this is actually a company in New York that is still selling their CBD infused drinks. I literally took this snapshot the other day, so you can still purchase it. FDA does say that when they find companies like selling this sort of thing, they send like a cease and desist letter type thing. So I don't know, but this is the hemp division, and I've had their products before. They're delicious. I've never had this particular one that I put up a picture of because this is CBD iced coffee, but I have gotten their CBD, just like, I don't know what they call them. It's just like a fruity drink. There's like siesta, calm, I don't know what else, and this is made in New York. So I don't know. Maybe they can only sell to people in New York. Maybe if they tried to sell to outside of New York, they get in trouble with FDA. I don't really know. It's very strange to me. And it seems like some people just do it till they get in trouble. I don't know. But this kind of came from that same article that had the top 5 companies selling CBD oils. So again, not necessarily that you have to follow a lot of these, but a lot of these do make sense to me, right? Remember that higher quality and purity are usually associated with a higher crop cost. So if you're looking for a cheaper option, there might be other problems that occur, like not very high quality CBD, not enough CBD. And again, make sure you use companies that can show you their analysis, that can show you their testing certificate. So makes sense. All right, so I did kind of put this as under the CBD stuff, but it goes for marijuana stuff as well, because actually both of these images are of THC gummies. And this could change by state too, but I think most states are kind of copying each other on this stuff. So again, the worry is that kids might see the packaging or the gummies that look fun, you know, they're in the shape of a body part, an animal, a fruit, and they want to eat it. And we have to find a way to make sure this stuff is only going to like 21-year-olds and older. I think that's the age limit for most of this stuff. It could be 18 in some states, but I don't know. So like this example here, I couldn't put the link on because it was like took up the whole page. It's from HuffPost, but if you just Google Mike Tyson can't sell ear-shaped gummies, that article will come up if you wanted to see it. But, and hopefully you know who Mike Tyson is. He's a famous wrestler that got in trouble for biting his opponent's ear off. And so he has a company that, as a joke, made these THC gummies in the shape of an ear with a little bite missing. And everybody thought it was hilarious. I can understand why it's hilarious. But his company is in Colorado. And Colorado actually told him, no, you cannot sell these because they're in the shape of a body part that might attract younger kids to try to take it. So his company had produced these. It's unfortunate they can't be used. And so I think his company's now just going with some sort of standard shape, like a square or something like that. So other things that I found in the news, besides this company possibly getting sued for it being too close to Sour Patch Kids. But again, the packaging could also be said that it would look attractive to teenagers. The shape is a nice, just square shape, so that's fine, but the packaging is a problem, and you can't really use any kind of brands that were, you know, advertised towards younger people. So I'm not sure that there's any like truly like defined things, like absolutely no shape of a head, you know, ear, legs. Not that I can find. It seems to just kind of be, if you make a business, you make a product, you show it to your state and they say yes or no kind of thing. But they just don't want to attract kids. They don't want anybody too young partaking in these products. Okay, so I'm at kind of about 50 minutes. So I'm gonna pause there and then I'll pick it right back up, but that will at least give you a break if you would like a break between lectures. So stop there.